The information provided on this podcast is intended for general informational and educational purposes only. It is not intended as a substitute for professional medical advice, diagnosis, or treatment. While we discuss topics related to vegan health, diet, and fitness, always consult with a qualified healthcare provider or a registered dietitian before making any changes to your diet, fitness routine, or lifestyle, especially if you have existing health conditions.
Welcome to Good Vegan Meal, the podcast for lifelong vegans, people wanting to become vegan, or those interested in vegan living. We're here to make your lives better by giving you the information you need to succeed in your compassionate vegan lifestyle.
All right, let's talk about something we all experience, but rarely think twice about, the work lunch. For most of us, it's, a simple, maybe even pleasant part of the workday, a quick grab and go or a team meal.
Yeah, pretty straightforward.
But for others, it can transform into this surprisingly tricky social and practical minefield.
Absolutely.
We're diving deep today into what it's like navigating veganism in the workplace.
Yeah, it's a really interesting area.
In this deep dive, we're going to explore the unique challenges vegans face, the effective strategies they use to advocate for themselves, and maybe most importantly, what employers can actually do to genuinely foster an inclusive environment for everyone.
And our sources for this, they're really rich. We've looked at everything from, candid personal stories on Reddit, which give you that real day-to-day feel.
Right, the ground level view.
Exactly. All the way up to robust legal frameworks and expert advice from groups like the Vegan Society. And what becomes clear really fast is that for many people, veganism isn't just about food. It's a deeply held philosophical belief. And that has, significant implications in the professional world.
And that's exactly our mission here.
Yeah.
To kind of cut through the noise. We want to give you clear, actionable insights, maybe some surprising facts along the way, and practical advice. Whether you're a vegan employee, a curious colleague, or maybe an employer thinking about how to create a better workplace. Okay, let's unpack this, starting with that raw, lived experience.
Yeah, let's do it.
When we looked at those Reddit threads, one sentiment just kept jumping out. Being vegan during work lunches is awkward.
You see that pop up again and again.
Yeah, and you see these patterns, like the outright exclusion when a new team goes for easy pizza,
The default option.
and the vegan person is just left eating alone. Or that mortifying space alien feeling someone described at a big social gathering,
Oh, yeah, I remember that one.
where well-meaning colleagues accidentally, shine a massive spotlight on your food choices.
Making you feel completely singled out. Even when they try to help, like ordering a salad that comes loaded with cheese and croutons anyway.
Exactly. And beyond that social awkwardness, there's this subtle but kind of constant pressure. Imagine being the new person at work and suddenly everyone feels they can, quiz you about your life choices.
Yeah, the third degree.
Or just the sheer frustration, like that example of a company-provided meal. The person specifically said they're vegan.
They flagged it up beforehand.
Right. Only for a manager to show up with a ton of pizza boxes, all cheese, and just kind of shrug it off.
That's incredibly dismissive.
It is. We even saw people talking about using self-deprecating humor, calling their own meal rabbit food, just to try and make light of having such limited options and, fit in a bit better.
And these aren't just, one-off bad days. They point to these really consistent underlying patterns. Vegans often face exclusion, sometimes accidental, sure, but sometimes it feels pretty purposeful. Then there's the persistent questioning. It can be genuine curiosity, which is fine, but sometimes it becomes really exhausting or even offensive.
I can imagine.
And then sadly, there's outright ridicule. The jokes, the teasing, even name-calling. And what's maybe most striking is how these experiences can actually lead to subtle forms of trauma.
Drama. That sounds quite strong for workplace lunches.
Well, if we think about the deeper meaning of trauma here, for many ethical vegans, the constant presence, even the smell of meat or animal products, it can be a persistent, upsetting reminder of what they see as death and cruelty.
Okay, right. Hadn't thought of it that way.
Or seeing things like non-vegan pest control methods, like glue traps. That directly clashes with their core belief of doing the least harm possible to all beings. It just underlines that this is way more than food preference. It's a whole worldview.
Yeah, it really makes you realize how deeply personal these choices are and how easily they get overlooked in a professional setting. So it's no surprise then that some people eventually develop quite a thick skin. You see comments like, I don't give a shit anymore,
Yeah.
or becoming good at not giving a fuck.
Right. They just build up a defense mechanism.
Exactly. But for lots of others, it leads to this ongoing feeling of inconvenience or isolation or even like actual financial unfairness, especially that example of the 75 counter corporate event where the only vegan option is pasta and tomato sauce for 16 pounds.
Yeah, that's a huge difference in what you're getting for the costs, isn't it? A real gap in experience and value.
Definitely. So, okay, given all these challenges, which are pretty pervasive, how can vegans themselves navigate these situations better? We're moving beyond just, coping towards being more proactive, maybe even being forces for positive change.
Yeah, absolutely. And there are examples of that.
Like that Reddit user you mentioned earlier, who just bought some plant-based milk for the office coffee area.
That's right. And it disappeared so fast that the main coffee supplier actually started stocking it themselves.
See? It shows how one small proactive step can actually spark a bigger shift.
Exactly. It's about agency.
So there seem to be some really practical ways to do this personal advocacy. First, being a positive role model.
Role modeling, compassion, healthy living.
Yeah, maybe offering to share some vegan snacks or recipes, make it seem appealing, not restrictive.
Right. Lower the barrier to entry, so to speak.
Second, being proactive about the food logistics, like suggesting vegan-friendly restaurants for team outings or offering to help plan events, maybe calling ahead to check options.
Or even just keeping some vegan snacks at your desk. Ensures you've got something. Plus, it might spark conversations if you're willing to share.
Good point. And third, maybe educating coworkers, but gently, perhaps.
Yeah, if someone shows genuine interest, share why you were vegan. Explain it's often about ethics, not just diet. Maybe point them to a website or a brochure if they want to know more.
Okay, that makes sense.
But what's really crucial here, I think, is balancing that external advocacy with internal self-preservation.
How do you mean?
Well, for self-advocacy, staying calm is key. Using humor sometimes can help diffuse tension, but also maybe practicing responses to those common questions you always get.
So you're not caught off guard.
Exactly. It helps you handle things more gracefully. But we also need to touch on this idea of imperfect veganism.
Imperfect veganism.
Yeah, the idea that there's no vegan club with strict entry rules. You don't have to be a perfect vegan to make a real difference. One source described veganism as a path with detours, imperfections, potholes.
Okay.
And the core message is really powerful. Doing whatever you can is still 100 times better than not giving it a try.
Right. Like the analogy you mentioned.
Yeah, the gymnastics one. If a child wants to learn gymnastics, you wouldn't tell them to quit just because they can't nail one specific pose.
Yeah, you'd encourage them to keep trying everything else.
Exactly. It's about the effort and the direction.
So that approach, that must also apply to people whose jobs seem to directly conflict with vegan beliefs, like chefs or servers, maybe even farmers.
It does, and the message from our sources is quite clear on this. It's possible for you to become vegan even if it seems like your job doesn't go hand in hand with that.
That must be tough, though.
For sure. It emphasizes self-compassion, recognizing that change might take time. It cites Howard Lyman, the famous cattle rancher who became a prominent vegan advocate, as an example of major shifts being possible.
Wow, okay.
And it talks about the quiet power of just planting little seeds by being a vegan presence, even in those industries. You might even become a trailblazer.
How so?
By using your position to create change from within, maybe developing vegan product lines or influencing menus, you could potentially become a pioneer of a whole new vegan company or just inspire others around you.
Okay, so there's individual action, there's self-care, but here's where it gets really interesting, right? The legal side. That adds a whole other layer of power to this advocacy.
Precisely. Because all this individual effort isn't just happening in a vacuum, it's increasingly backed by recognized legal protections.
Especially in the UK.
Yes, specifically in the UK. A landmark ruling established that ethical veganism qualifies as a protected belief under the Equality Act 2010.
Okay, that's huge.
It's incredibly significant. It means employers have a legal duty, an obligation, to avoid discriminating against ethical vegans.
And it's important to stress the ethical part there.
Yes, that's the key distinction the ruling made. It applies to those whose veganism stems from a profound ethical or philosophical conviction, rather than, say, purely dietary choices made just for health reasons.
Got it. So we've looked at the individual side, the legal framework. Let's flip this now. Let's look at the employer's role. What's the most impactful first step a company can take? Is it about policy first or training, or is it something more fundamental about the culture?
That's a great question. And I think fundamentally it starts with recognizing the sheer range of benefits that come from being more inclusive. It's not just about ticking a legal box.
Right. So what are those benefits?
Well, firstly, inclusivity. Vegan food is arguably the most inclusive option you can offer. It works for vegans, vegetarians, people cutting down on animal products, plus those with common allergies like milk or eggs.
Okay.
And often, with a bit of discussion, it can work for kosher or halal dietary needs too. Secondly, sustainability. This is a big one now for companies.
CSR goals and all that.
Exactly. Vegan diets consistently show the lowest emissions of carbon dioxide. We're talking potentially reducing a company's food-related carbon footprint by up to 50%.
Wow, up to 50%. That's significant.
It really is. Then thirdly, there's the health angle. Vegan meals are generally rich in fiber, low in cholesterol-raising saturated fat, and packed with fruit and vegetables.
So potentially healthier, more productive employees, fewer sick days maybe?
That's the potential benefit, yeah. Improved well-being. And finally, believe it or not, cost savings.
Really? People often think vegan food is more expensive.
That's a common misconception. But a large-scale Oxford University study actually confirmed a vegan diet can reduce food expenditure by a third.
By a third, okay.
Yeah. Many plant-based brands now price match their meat or dairy equivalents, and things like Long Life oat milk are very affordable and last ages, so it can be a clear win-win.
Those are really compelling arguments for employers to take action.
Yeah.
And it sounds like it goes way beyond just putting a vegan sandwich in the canteen.
Yeah.
What are some concrete, practical steps employers should be taking, thinking broader than just the food itself?
Absolutely. It's systemic. So first, implement inclusive policies. Develop clear guidelines. Training is vital, especially for managers on the Equality Act, how to avoid discrimination, how to handle requests properly.
Okay, policy and training first, then food.
Then food and catering, yes.
No.
Providing non-dairy milk alternatives, almond, coconut, soy, oat is basic now, and make sure they're always stocked. As one source pointed out, oat milk has a shelf life far beyond that of dairy milk, and non-vegans often like it too.
Good practical tip.
Always offer at least one clearly labeled vegan meal option in cafeterias or at events. Make it clear that vegetarian isn't the same thing. Simple things like making all veggie sides vegan or having a modular salad bar make a huge difference.
Or that idea of making most things vegan with optional meat on the side.
Exactly. That's quite progressive, but very inclusive. Sending out dietary requirements forms for events is essential, and kitchens need to think about minimizing cross-contamination, maybe separate storage areas, like putting vegan items on a shelf above non-vegan foods in the fridge.
Right, basic food hygiene, but with awareness.
Yeah.
What about the wider workplace environment beyond the kitchen?
Yeah, good point. Be mindful of work socials. Check the vegan options at local pubs or restaurants beforehand.
Yeah.
And crucially, choose activities that don't involve animal use. So maybe skip the greyhound racing night or the hog roast barbecue.
Makes sense. What else?
Provide vegan-friendly alternatives where company items are issued, like synthetic safety boots instead of leather ones. Allow discussions about pension investment options so people can avoid funds investing in things contrary to their beliefs.
Pension funds. Wow. Didn't think of that.
It's all connected for ethical vegans. And critically, address bullying, harassment, and victimization. A good rule of thumb is to ask, would this comment be offensive if directed at someone with another protected characteristic, like race or religion?
That's a powerful framing.
And finally, consider exempting vegans from tasks that directly conflict with their beliefs, like maybe doing stock take in a freezer full of meat, or meeting pest control companies using inhumane methods.
This sounds like a really comprehensive approach. It needs both the formal policies and, well, genuine empathy, doesn't it?
Absolutely.
It reminds me of that story about the GP trainee. The persistence pays off.
Yeah, the NHS canteen example.
Took a whole year of emailing, calling, giving feedback, talking positively with the cook, even bringing up the legal side. But they eventually got vegan options introduced.
It shows change is possible, even in big, slow-moving institutions.
It really does.
And maybe the most crucial takeaway for any employer listening is simply this. Listen to your employees. As one source bluntly put it, speak to your staff.
Yeah.
Vegans in employment are likely to be only too pleased to offer assistance.
They're your best resource, really.
Exactly. Their input is invaluable for creating policies and practices that actually work.
We've really covered a lot of ground in this deep dive, haven't we? From that sort of personal awkward feeling at a single work lunch, all the way to the systemic legal complexities of veganism in the modern workplace, it seems really clear that understanding, and more importantly, taking action, can turn these challenges into genuine opportunities for, well, deeper inclusivity for everyone.
And that dual approach feels key, right? You've got individuals doing their best, advocating, educating, combined with employers stepping up, recognizing their legal and ethical duties, but also seeing the practical advantages of properly catering to vegan staff. That combination is what will drive progress.
It really feels like a cause worth pushing for.
It absolutely is, both personally and institutionally. It touches on broader principles of respect, understanding, and, well, basic fairness.
So, as you, our listeners, reflect on all this, here's something to think about. In a world that's constantly changing, where personal beliefs are, increasingly valued and even legally protected, how might embracing diverse dietary choices like veganism not just accommodate employees, but actually innovate the very culture and operations of our workplaces for the better?
Thanks so much for tuning in to today's episode of Good Vegan Meal. If you loved what you heard and you're hungry for more, head over to our link tree at linktr.ee/goodveganmeal. There you can grab our free PDF 30 high-protein vegan 5-minute meals packed with quick recipes and full nutritional stats for every meal. Perfect for busy days and plant-powered gains. And if you're ready to take your vegan cooking game to the next level, check out our cookbook's 125-minute vegan meals for kids' lunches, a school lunchbox lifesaver, 185-minute vegan meals, and 7 weeks of high-protein meals with meal planning made simple with grocery lists for each week. Grab your goodies at linktr.ee/goodveganmeal, and we'll see you in the next episode.